Welcome in to Pay Dirt Sports, part of the Six Pack Coverage Network. This is Will Dundon here with Seth Coggin. Had a big weekend in sports, especially with kind of the Pay Dirt crew of teams. So obviously we'll kick it off. College baseball, heartbreaking for some, the opposite for others. But real quick, we'll kind of talk about Tennessee baseball. I mean, mainly Vol fans, but many people were talking about how this is one of the best teams college baseball's ever seen. They had swagger, they were cocky, people loved it, people hated it. All in all, they end up losing 2 games to Notre Dame, losing that game 3, obviously, not going to make it to Omaha. Huge disappointment, obviously. And I mean, we can get into it, Seth, maybe just kind of your first thoughts, anything stuck out to you about that series if you got to take a look at it.
Yeah, I watched a lot of it. The Vols are a absolute lightning rod this year with just the style that they play, abrasive and just almost to an arrogant point. But that's kind of how baseball is sometimes, and that's kind of what's allowed them to have such an edge all year. They definitely are super talented, but then they also play with just a confidence that's been hard to beat and overcome. With all that said, it's been a long season for the Vols. Like, it has been a long season of being kind of the top dog, like of being, the most elite team. And there's been a lot of talk about, is this the best team ever? Like one of the greatest teams ever. And so I think the target that's been on their back for so long kind of does wear you down. Like, you can say whatever you want, you can, go about it however you want, but like being the hunted for so long definitely wears on you. I have a little firsthand experience as much as you can, and recent experience being an Arkansas fan last year. Pretty much unanimous #1 all season. Didn't lose a single series. Like, literally did not lose a single series all year. Won the SEC championship regular season, won the SEC tournament championship, and then lost in the super regionals. Like, so, #1. And if you go on to win like Omaha that year, then they're considered, maybe the greatest college baseball team of all time. To go win your conference regular season, postseason, and then win the tournament would be an accomplishment, like unreal accomplishment. People don't do it. Like, it doesn't really happen. The only #1 seed, the last #1 seed to win the tournament was in 1999. It's been like our entire lifetime, really, of teams that were #1 overall, like, played the whole season and said, this is the best team. And the best team hardly ever wins, apparently. And so, and clearly Tennessee was head and shoulders the best team this regular season. But, you get to a two out of 3 game series, and anything can happen because it's against a great team. Notre Dame is hot right now. Baseball works that way. Like, you kind of either have it or you don't. And, great teams can kind of manufacture it more, I would say. But when teams get hot and when they're just playing really well together, they can become really hard to beat. And in a 3-game series where you dropping game 1 was massive. Like, dropping game 1 the way they did was huge, because then the pressure is just on, because then the thoughts are there in the back. Even if you're great at like not thinking about it, like the thoughts are there in the back of your mind, like, man, we're up against it, which sometimes can work out great and really spark something. I really thought Tennessee would probably come back and win in its second 2 games, just because they're a great team and they have tons of depth in pitching and hitting and everything. But it comes down to a few innings. Like, this whole fantastic season came down to like the 7th inning of game 3 of the super regionals. And then it's just a tie ball, a close ball game that's anyone's game. And Notre Dame made a few more plays in game 3 of the super regional. And so now they're moving on, and Tennessee's season is over. And that's a very hard thing to deal with. And especially right now, you're in such a fresh time of coming off this just electric season, just being the best. And then all of a sudden, that's how sports happen. And college sports, in tournament scenarios especially, it's just on a moment's notice, it's over. And it is a disappointment. It's a very hard to be very disappointed in the moment while also appreciating the greatness of the entirety of the season, because over time it will be viewed as one of the most fantastic seasons in UT baseball history. Did things that were unprecedented for that program. I was talking kind of with Shump, a guy we've had on here, Ryan Shumpert, a few times today, just like when we were growing up, when we were kids, we grew up in Nashville. I played baseball all summer, every summer. Like, and Tennessee baseball was not even a thing. Like, Tennessee baseball was essentially non-existent. Now, obviously, they had a few good years every now and then. A lot of teams are kind of capable of that. But for a program, which Tony Vitello is trying to build, like for a program, this was a huge year to be a top dog, like to put yourself in that category all year long. You didn't make a fluke run to Omaha. Like last year was like, oh, they're a pretty good team that got hot at the right time, make it to Omaha, But this year was like, no, this team is the best all year long. Um, but that's the tournament. That is baseball. That is baseball. That is baseball. Is baseball. The SEC is possibly going to get 4 teams in Omaha. 4 out of 8 teams are going to be from the SEC, but none of them are the champion of the regular season or the tournament. Like, these teams are still in it, and they didn't even, like, obviously Tennessee was better than them, but and that's what it hurt. It hurt a lot last year watching Mississippi State win the national championship when Arkansas had swept them in a series. Like, the only real time we swept them in a series, and we may have even beaten them in Hoover. But anyway, they're a team that finishes a few games behind you in SEC play that you swept, and they're the ones holding the trophy at the end of the year when it really matters, and you're at home and just bummed out. But that's baseball. You got to be there to win it. This is Arkansas's. So on the flip side, the agony of defeat, the what's the second half of that phrase? The joy of victory, the agony of defeat. That is sports. That's what brings us back, is like, we enjoy the victory because we have known pain. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to enjoy, like, almost got emotional the other day watching the Razorbacks win game 2 of the Super Regional. Like, when I saw them dogpiling, I just saw the joy, and I knew the joy that my family was feeling. I knew the joy, and I was personal, and I knew just across the state after last year's just heart-wrenching, like gut-wrenching. Arkansas is like, as we kind of talked about Tennessee coming on as a baseball program, and I think they will continue to grow as an entire program. The fans care consistently year after year. They get good players year after year. They have very solid teams year after year. They have continued success, which I think will come as long as Vitello has the reins. But like, Arkansas fans have been there for as long as I can remember, but beyond that, like, Arkansas loves baseball. And so and we had a team that we really thought was it, because Van Horn. So we've been to Omaha 11 times, or this is our 11th trip, but we've never won. So, I mean, not only do you have to, like, to even have a chance, you got to be there. But even if you're there, it's hard to win. Like, even if you get to Omaha, we could go 5 more times and not win the series. Now, hopefully that's not the case, but it's just so hard to bring it home. But yeah, so I saw last year us as a number 1 overall seed get knocked out at home. But you can't even really hate on, like, I don't know, Tennessee fans may have some vitriol for Notre Dame, but it's almost like respect. Like, dude, we were the number 1 team. You came to our ballpark and you won a series. Like, you won 2 out of 3. You didn't beat me in 1 fluke game. You beat me twice on my home turf. Like, you earn it. That's kind of what I do like about baseball too, is even last year, like, NC State beat Arkansas, and they kind of like they weren't super highly ranked or anything, but man, they just caught some dynamic of fire. Like, they literally just had the swagger and the confidence to kind of get hot in tournament setting. And that happens in baseball all the time. Teams will get hot in basketball kind of tournament time, but baseball has a whole different team dynamic, I feel like, in my opinion, from what I've seen personally. Like, if a team really gels at the right time, it can be dangerous. I mean, that's what Arkansas is. Arkansas is going to Omaha right now. They lost 6 out of the last 7 games going into, like, the postseason, and then got swept right out of Hoover. And now they're going to Omaha, and Tennessee's sitting at home. That's the craziness. That's the razor blade of sports, man. It is the razor blade of sports, that you are on a razor thin margin between being victorious or going home and being super disappointed. So very easy to be disappointed, and you should be disappointed in a Tennessee baseball, like, as a Tennessee baseball fan. Like, man, we had a really great chance to win a World Series. Like, that doesn't come around every year. You're not gonna have a great chance every year. But I think overall, it's a great building block for the future of the program. It excited a lot of people in Tennessee about baseball, and showed you, like, how much fun. I think this almost showed it was a great showcase to the development of college baseball. like if people haven't been paying attention to college baseball for a few years, Tennessee's not around, not relevant. Well, I don't watch as much college baseball, if my team is not good and relevant. Like, it's just human nature. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in life. I don't have to choose to sit down and watch baseball. But I think it probably opened a lot of people's eyes to the talent and the exciting brand of baseball that's being played across college right now, especially in the SEC, man. It is strong. It is strong. It is strong. If they really do, they could get 4 teams in. So half of the College World Series field could be from the SEC, and without our champion even in that field. So anyway, that was kind of a larger point on Tennessee. Like overall, this series was just tough. You lose that game 1, you still have a chance because you're a great team. Pick up the win in game 2, kind of take a little of that pressure off, but then it just becomes one game to go to Omaha. And like I said, it comes down to the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, and they hit 2 big home runs in the 8th and 9th inning, and it was over. NC State hit a home run in like the 8th inning last year, and it was just all of a sudden it was over. Like if you get to game 3, you're putting yourself in position for anything that can happen. So yeah. So yeah, we'll just I want to hear as a true like fan thoughts. Like what was your fan thoughts from when Tennessee?
Well, so I want to touch on what you said a second ago, just talking about opening the doors kind of for college baseball, because I was listening to some local radio, actually, I guess it was on Friday or Thursday, right before that series was coming up. And they were talking about, and this is in Nashville, so, there's Tennessee fans around, but they were talking about, is this really bringing in a lot more viewership and fandom as a whole for college baseball? Or is it really just you have this really loud Tennessee fan base that is now attached to this and making a lot more noise? And I get the argument, but I personally thought this team, and this is what they succeeded in, they were polarizing. You loved them or you hated them. Like there were a lot of people that hated Tennessee, and there were a lot of people watching those games because they wanted to see Tennessee lose. And that is awesome for college baseball, in my opinion, to have any sort of polarizing figure in that sport to bring in viewers that, hey, we're not even fans of Tennessee. We just want to see them lose. Like that's good. That's good for the sport. You bring in a lot of attraction, and that's what Tennessee did. Is they were super cocky and people didn't like it, or you loved it. And it brings a whole new fandom to the sport, because it's like, hey, baseball is fun to watch again. Like college baseball is fun to watch. Yeah. Whatever your opinions may be on the team. Also, just worth noting, past 3 years, number 1 team in college baseball has not made it to Omaha.
Yeah,
doesn't really mean anything, but it just shows. Well, it does mean something. It means that it's hard to get to Omaha no matter what you're set up with. As a fan, especially watching, I hated losing that first game. You mentioned it. Losing, you want to get game 1. You always do. You want to be ahead. Watching game 2 felt really good. Obviously, the bats came alive. You hit 4 home runs in 1 inning. Luke Lipsius leads it off and hits a home run, and then we bat around and he hits another home run. Game 3, he comes in first inning. Luke Lipsius again hits a home run. I'm feeling pretty good about everything. And all it was 7th inning, I think. When they hit, Notre Dame ends up hitting 2 home runs 1 inning. And what really sucked is that second home run, the guy cranked 1 foul, and then next pitch or 2 ends up hitting the home run. So really just kind of took the air out from under your wings. And, that was a game you were up 3-1 for 7 innings. You were feeling pretty good. I knew we were going to have to score a lot of runs, and that's what Tennessee had been doing all year. So you were hoping that would happen. Anyway, the loss sucked. I mean, losing, it was kind of like, man, I can't believe it. It does feel like such a waste. I hate the term choking in college baseball, kind of like, yeah, you
Baseball's
did
hard, bro.
Like this was a team that obviously, everyone was talking about how great they were and everything. So the fact that you don't make it to Omaha, that is a failure, I guess. I think I wouldn't
really call it a choke. Choke's a hard one. Like it really means they just 2 teams lined up on a field and they lost.
That's what I was thinking. I was talking to someone else and I was like, man, they just got beat. It's not like you went out and didn't score any runs. I mean, you didn't score a ton, but you didn't go out and lay an egg, and you had a couple bad innings where their bats got a little hot, just a couple. Like it wasn't like they lit you up the whole game. It was just they came out, they beat you. And I think I felt a little peace in that just because I didn't think you got stolen from us. Like you said, it was kind of just, hey, respect. Like you did it. You came in and beat us. And I do think, I mean, the Vols, obviously, you got a little 24-hour rule where you get pissed all about a loss, and then all the kind of logical thoughts start coming into your head once it's finally over. This team is going to be set up for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years, as long as Tony Vitello's there. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be just rattling off trips to Omaha, but you're going to be probably near the top of the SEC. You're recruiting at a super high level. I think, although, yeah, you lose and you're not going to be the national champion, a lot of these high school kids that want to come play college baseball saw what Tennessee did this year. They paid attention and they saw all these guys having a lot of fun. And I think that only helps recruiting. So all in all, loss sucks. It is a disappointing season. It's not like Tennessee basketball. I even kind of was on the side of, hey, you know what? We won an SEC championship for the first time in however many years. I'm not going to label this season a complete failure. Baseball, this was different just because of all the hype around it. And you just saw it. You saw what this team could do. And you hate it because there are so many seniors and so many guys that are eligible to leave that probably will leave and go to the MLB. So, but again, Tony V's recruiting at a high level. You're going to be reeling in top 5 recruiting classes probably year in and year out. So time to reset. But, yeah, I mean, a disappointment. That's all it really is. You can be, I'm still proud of what they did this year. And I think what they did was awesome for college baseball. Because, yeah, as a Tennessee fan, I didn't really care about it. And now I do because Tennessee's good. But I do, again, I'm going to kind of beat a dead horse here and say that team being so polarizing brought in new fans to baseball.
Yeah.
So,
well, how would you have felt had they made it to Omaha but lost? Like, do you think it feels different if they make it to Omaha?
Yeah. Yeah, I still do. Even if they don't, if they don't win the Natty, but they make it to Omaha. I mean, I will say I do watch the College World Series usually. That is the one thing I watch. I probably watch more of the College World Series than the regular World Series, just for whatever reason, even since I was a kid. Maybe it's because I have connections with Omaha and everything. So I don't know. But anyway, I think once you get to Omaha, it truly is just like what we're talking about now, but at an even higher degree. Like you just got to get hot. It's got to be your day.
You got to play these several games really well.
Yeah.
Well, it just reduces your season, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's like, well, now it's an 8-game season, 7 games, probably, I guess, 7-game season now. And you got to win 5 out of 7 or something and take it all home.
Yeah. And you can point to, I mean, you can look at Arkansas, like you said, you've been there 11 times and haven't gotten one. But I would assume when you make it to Omaha, you would probably consider that a successful season. I'm sure you'd like to get the monkey off your back and win one, but
yeah, you definitely do at this point as an Arkansas fan, what stung the most is like having one in our hands in 2018. We were one, that's pretty famous example of Arkansas choking an opportunity away. You want to, was it choke? Was it not? I tend to say no, because all those players got us in that position, and yeah, Oregon State dug themselves out that year, but it's very hard to get there. And then it's kind of a reset. The way the tournament is, getting to Omaha is almost like you're starting a regional over. And then you got to win a regional and a super regional again, except this time it's the 8 hottest teams in the nation right now.
Yeah, not only are they good, they're hot too. Like you said,
they were a really good team, and they're the 8 teams that are playing best. And so you combine that, and you put everyone on a neutral field. It's a little bit bigger field, not quite as many home runs just bombing out of there. Now you can hit home runs certainly, but not, it's just not quite as much of a launching pad. And then the stage gets a little bit bigger. It's a little bit brighter, 25,000 fans instead of whatever regional you're playing at, which, like, Arkansas plays in a stadium that will get 15K in there for a big super regional game. It's huge. But I'm watching the Stanford regional, and they're playing in front of like 1,500 fans in this like super regional. Yeah. Which is fine. Like, it's a really gorgeous park, but it's just a different environment. And so, like, it's very hard to get there. And so getting to Omaha is like getting to the College World Series is pretty much like the mark of a good season. it's like, no, this team made Omaha. Like they made a fantastic run in the postseason, and they beat really good teams to get there. I think that's what makes it the most worthy thing. Is like, no, Arkansas went on the road and beat a national seed in their home park. They earned the right to go to Omaha. Like that is a mark of a successful season. And then to take it all is the ultimate success. I guess that's kind of the way to define it. Now that you can have like we saying with the Vols right now, like you can have a disappointment in Omaha. Like it can still be disappointing if we isolate that kind of feeling towards that situation. But like overall, the success, like getting to dog pile, if you get to dog pile, bro, like it's probably a successful season. So get a dog pile and having that moment of going, now let's just go win it. And I think that's why getting there so often does provide an advantage, because it does kind of up the bar. It's like, well, we've been here enough. Like Arkansas's been to the World Series final several times now. Like we've gotten not just, satisfied with being there, not just like, man, that's the peak of our season, getting to Omaha. Anything other than this is cherry on top, but no, not really. Like we have to get to Omaha. Like Omaha is a necessity if we want to reach our ultimate goal. Like, yes, it's awesome that we got this one, but like we cannot win the national championship without doing this step. So it's just kind of a step in the process to be celebrated. It's a huge one and a defining one, and the one that you get to hang a banner for. It would be like the Final Four in basketball. Like making a Final Four in basketball is a mark of success. That is a true, like, we hang a banner for making the Final Four, because it's a massive just testament to your program or your team that year. So making that trip to Omaha is just, it's electric. It's amazing. It's a success, but it's just a step. It's a huge step. It's a hard step to take, as a lot of teams figured out. There's not that many national seeds that made it to Omaha. I mean, we're on the brink of there being one national seed in Omaha. Now, that's probably not going to happen, because I think Stanford's definitely they were ahead by like 6 runs last I checked, so they're probably in. If that game may already be over, but. So that's at least 2, and Oregon State could make it 3. Oregon State Auburn is an interesting one. That's in Arkansas side of the bracket. So it's either. So here, I'll do a quick rundown of the College World Series. A quick little preview. You got on one side of the bracket, you got Ole Miss, Arkansas, the winner of Stanford UConn, which is looking like Stanford, and the winner of Oregon State Auburn. And that one's tonight. So we'll find out later tonight who the last ticket to Omaha. So if Auburn wins, Arkansas side of the region will be 3 teams from the SEC West, and it's probably Stanford, which is just crazy. And not even the 3 teams that won the SEC West. Who won the SEC West, they're on the other side of the bracket, which is, so we're potentially looking at 4 SEC West teams in the College World Series, which is just crazy and a testament to the strength. That is why playing in the SEC, whether it be football or baseball, basketball, we're, on par, if not even below maybe some conferences in terms of strength. But playing that SEC schedule all year, like iron does sharpen iron. Playing that tough schedule, seeing top pitching. I think pitching, like hitting off studs. Every team in the SEC probably has like 3 or 4 pro arms, if not more. Like you are seeing studs on the mound every week. And so that leads you to more success in the postseason. So let's see. Who else do we got so Texas A&M, they have made the College World Series. And then we got Texas. So Texas beat East Carolina in the last 2 games. We talked about Tennessee lost that first game, and it was hard to win those second 2. They say about 80% of teams that lose the first game lose the regional. So about 80% of game 1 winners win. Well, Texas was on the road, lost game 1, and came back and won game 2 and game 3. And then you got Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Texas, and Texas A&M are the other side of the bracket, which it's funny, in 2 years, OU and Texas are about to be in the SEC. So if this was that year, you're looking at quite literally 6 future SEC teams out of 8 for the championship, which is just insane. Now, they're not in the SEC yet, so it doesn't count for it yet, obviously. But they will definitely be adding to the strength. So Oklahoma went on the road 2 and won. So Oklahoma Texas, and Notre Dame all went on the road to win. Arkansas, Ole Miss, potentially Auburn all went on the road to win their supers. So looks like, home field advantage didn't have a huge weight this year in the College World Series or college baseball ranks. But yeah, that's that's quite a bit of baseball talk for us, but it is that time of year. Like it's crunch time. We've been talking about, I was dreaming of a Hogs and Vols Omaha matchup, and we were so close. We were so close. Well, we've been so close last year. We kind of almost exactly flopped scenarios. Last year, Hogs are number 1 all year. Vols make it to Omaha, but the Hogs don't. We lose in supers. And then this year, Vols number 1 all year, but Hogs make it to Omaha and Vols don't. So maybe year 3 is the meetup. We've gone 1, 2, and year 3 will be the meetup. And we'll get Hogs and Vols in Omaha, and we'll all go party until we can't no more.
I would seriously almost guarantee that within the next 4 years, I'll say within the next 4 years, that like Arkansas and Tennessee, you have maybe 2 of the best coaches in college baseball right now.
Yeah.
I would just have to say that they will be there. Arkansas will continue to be there as long as DVH is there. And I would think the same for Vitella. We'll see. He's been to 1, so you can't really, he's been to 1. So we'll see. But let's move along real quick. We got about 10 minutes left, 9 minutes. Yeah. I do want to talk about, Seth, you mentioned it before. We'll talk a little bit about this is it live or live? Live?
It is live. I found that out today, actually. I called it live, and
I've been calling it live corrected as well. But yeah, we'll talk live golf for the next few minutes, and then got a little 2-minute drill for you if you want. But
nice.
Yeah, so this whole live golf tournament, a lot of guys are starting to turn over to it. DJ Dustin Johnson announced that he would go over to it, and I guess played in this tournament.
There's quite a few big names. They have drawn some big characters out of and it's really convoluted because it's essentially making them ineligible from the PGA Tour in some facets, but like they can compete in some of the majors if they have that status, because all the majors have different qualifications towards who can play. Like the British Open and US Open are opens. Like they are theoretically open to anyone if you're good enough. And they have, DJ's won Masters tournaments, even Sergio's won or major tournaments. Sergio's won at least the Masters. So like he can obviously always play that. Anyway, it's a break off of the PGA Tour, and it's kind of trying to pilfer PGA Tour players with money. That's literally like what they can offer. I don't know where they are backed by some groups with some questionable business dealings. So it's kind of it's almost like a morally objectable group of people that have started this league. And so that's why a lot of people detest it, and they're kind of just monetizing completely the sport of golf. So at one time, the purses in golf were not very big. And then a man named Tiger Woods came along, and nowadays golf is 10 times, maybe if not more. Like that's it is 10 times more money involved in the purses. And that means that if the purses have 10 times more, which is like the winnings of each tournament, that means sponsorships are just, crazy different than they used to be. The money is just much, much, much bigger. And this new league, Live Golf, headed by Greg Norman, the Shark, he's kind of one of the faces of the leadership team. And they've pretty much just said, no, we're going to pay you an insane amount of money to play less golf and have fewer tournaments, bigger money. And that is a hard thing to say no to. I'll be honest. Like a guy like Dustin Johnson, right? Played a lot of golf, man, grinded hard. And then, he gets this offer to play maybe 7 less tournaments a year, maybe 2. Think about it, once you want 2 more months of work off and like 4 times your salary, it would be a conversation worth having. It would be a conversation worth having.
And that's what Dustin Johnson came out and said. The goal is to play less golf. And you have all these people who are like, what? That's crazy. No, like, yeah, I'm sure he still enjoys playing golf.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he would like to make more money and not have to golf as much.
Yeah. The tour, as much as it sounds fun to be like, oh man, I'd love to be a tour golfer, play golf every weekend. Nah, dude, that is a grind. You only see the 4 days on the weekend. They get there Monday morning and are working an 8 to 5. Literally, I watch I was working at a golf course when the LPGA came to town, a full tournament, like best in the world. They were playing at our course, so I'm working tournament, and I see these players on Monday morning there at 8 o'clock, 8 to 5, grinding, walking the course twice a day, hitting balls for hours on end. Like, it is not a just casual, hang out during the week at a cool location and go out on Thursday and play. Like, it is a grind nonstop, and travel is ridiculous. I can see wanting to play less. I just think overall, maybe we'll get into it more kind of as it develops, but I'm curious to see what it means for the future of golf. Like, if you have more better players in your league, you probably will get more viewership, and like it might succeed. Like, and maybe it's a sign of different things to come for the PGA Tour. Maybe it's not live golf, but maybe it's something else that kind of if you can allure the players, then you have the league. Like, whichever league sponsors the best players, that is gonna be the premier, golf thing. So we'll see how it goes. I'm curious. I just think it is a very, very interesting thing to watch in the future of golf. Because that'd be like the NFL splitting and you actually losing some good, like the XFL starting, except you did take a Patrick Mahomes and some other guys that are like elite. Like, you actually brought Super Bowl winning quarterbacks into the XFL and was like, no, we're kind of a legit league. Like, we actually are a good product, and we're paying them 3 times as much, or if not more, guaranteed money. Like, you got to win that money in the PGA, bro. If that money's guaranteed, like, that ain't too bad. So we'll see. I think it's interesting to see kind of how this future of the sport goes, which is always what I'm kind of geared towards. Like, what are things that are happening that are the future of the sport? So
yeah, it'll run into, I mean, there are obviously a lot of there's a lot of character issues and morals that go into it, but also the thing is golf is not super popular. Like, it is more popular because of Tiger and everything. Like, there are millions of viewers, but compared to the major sports, you're not getting the same viewership, even on the Masters, as you are like another major sport championship.
Yeah.
However, yeah, so that's what I'm kind of wondering too, how much it will affect, because the PGA will always have the Masters, the US Open, the British Open, the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
I would have to assume, even if you're playing in the live, if you're able to, you're going to play in the major tournaments.
Yeah.
Simply because, I mean, obviously the money's good, but there is something to be said for, you're a competitor. Those are like your championships. You want to win those.
Yeah. You also need, I mean, that's a huge sponsorship thing.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
You got to play the majors, right? To have your sponsors happy.
Yeah. Well, real quick, we'll wrap it up. We got to go short again because Trushel was not able to make it in. So we are running on the poor man's Zoom, I guess you could call it.
No,
but
man,
Seth,
this is the people's Zoom.
Seth, give me we got 2.5 minutes left, so we'll try to each go about a minute. So you give me kind of anything you got on your chest, go for it. 1 minute, go.
Yeah, mine's not going to be about sports at all. Look, it's hot out there. First of all, I'm gonna little PSA, stay hydrated, yo. We gotta be drinking enough water. Like, if you're out working, even if you're just out in the sun, out at the lake, I don't care what you're drinking, but mix in some water. We cannot be having some heat exhaustion. I was out at a race in Tulsa, heat index 115, bro. We got people passing out like flies. Like, we got to stay hydrated. And then, I'm going to throw a little plug for Yarnell's ice cream. Arkansas's own homemade strawberry ice cream is the perfect treat for any hot, sunny day. You come in, you get some strawberry ice cream. That's my go-to treat. Will, I do want to hear what's your hot day go-to sunny treat?
I'm an Italian ice guy. If I'm at the beach and you got a good Italian ice truck, dude, nothing better than some good Italian ice. But I will say my ice cream of choice would definitely be, you've been there, I believe, the Nebraska Dairy Store. Let's go. Talk about some fresh ice cream. That is straight out the cow, dude.
Yeah, that is nice.
Anyway, I'll hit mine real quick, and then, we're going to have to wrap it up. So a couple things. I guess I'll go with a little culture as well. Saw Top Gun Maverick last week. Highly recommend. It was awesome, man. Just beginning to end, total action movie. You're on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen. Someone could die at any moment. You're flying around in planes. It's crazy. I don't compare it to the original Top Gun for anyone who wants to say one is better than the other. It's not really the same storyline, so you can't really compare a whole lot, but great movie. Would definitely recommend it. Also, as far as sports goes, I want to talk about this probably on another episode, but we'll kind of start ranking the quarterbacks in college football. I've been hearing a lot of hype about Will Levis. Don't know where it came from. I guess he's okay. Guy threw for less than 200 yards 7 out of the 8 SEC games last year. Let's stop pretending he's a top quarterback in the nation. He's not even top 5 in the SEC, in my opinion. Anyway, we'll have to wrap it up here. Guys, thanks again for listening. This has been Pay Dirt Sports, part of the Six Pack Coverage Network. Check them out at Six Pack Coverage on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out at @paydirt_sports on Twitter, at Pay Dirt Sports on Instagram. Guys, thanks again for listening. We'll see y'all next week.
Pay Dirt out.